Here we go again. Young Freedom in the building.
Yo, what's up? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, what you say, man? Thanks for coming through.
No, always, man. How are you?
Yeah,
Good?
not too bad, not too bad. Good to have you here still.
Cheers, man.
Good to have you here. You're doing numbers out here, bro.
We're trying, man.
Doing numbers out here, man. How's your day going?
Yeah. Not bad. Hot, innit?
Yeah,
well hot, right?
Yeah, it's been quiet for some days now, so you can imagine that.
No, I can't complain, man. I love the summer in it, but man chose to come out here in all black in it. I'm sweating. It definitely makes me feel happier in it. It puts me in a positive mindset when the sun comes out, like on a real team.
Yeah, man. I understand that. I just feel like I'm always positive anyway, sun or not sun.
Yeah, big up to that.
I'm good. I'm just chilling, innit? I'm chilling. Thanks for coming through. I really appreciate it still.
Me, man. Appreciate it.
This is welcome to This Is My Say with Ace. A safe place to have your say.
Yep.
And no judgment. However you want to say it. Hey, let's have it. The floor is yours, innit?
Need more of that. Yeah.
The floor is yours, innit? Let's take it from the top.
Come on. What do you want to know?
Are you born and raised in Margate?
I was born in Dover, innit? Born in Dover in '93. Lived just outside of Dover for 22 years. With my mum, innit? My folks separated when we were kids. That wasn't a problem though, because we both, we saw each of them. Like a typical kid outlook, I've got 2 homes, 2 TVs. Pretty much. Ended up I live in Broadstairs now with my old man. He didn't stay in Broadstairs. He's been around a bit as well. He's lived in Ramsgate for a bit. Ended up in Broadstairs. We had there's been a few bits that have helped us to get here in it, shall we say? But yeah.
Have you got any siblings?
Yeah, man. I've got a sister, younger sister, only by a bit. She's 25, I think. 25. Don't hold me against that part if it's wrong. Yeah. She used to live with us in Avon. Bless her. She's had a few bits going on, but I won't speak for her in it. But she ended up in Broadstairs with me for a bit, and now she's over here in Margate as well. So it's like full circle, and the whole family's come full circle.
Yeah. And while you're growing up, how is the things with you and sister?
Yeah, we're good now, and we're well close now. Definitely didn't get along as kids, but I don't think most siblings get along very well. I mean, we really didn't get along. But people used to say to me when we were kids that it's not until you get to adults that you start to get closer to your family. I didn't quite understand it at the time. But now that we're both, young adults, I can definitely see it. Me and my sister are really close. That's good
then. Like I say, you go full circle.
Yeah.
So while you're growing up in your household, when you're in Dover, or when you're living with your dad now, what kind of music do your dad normally,
Do you know what? My dad he's probably one of the reasons I maybe not got into making music in it, but definitely influenced my love for music. I mean, we grew up listening to metal and rock, Metallica, Thin Lizzy, Lynyrd Skynyrd, all that sort of. Yeah. I'd say Bon Jovi, but he'd argue that he hates Bon Jovi, but I love a bit of Bon Jovi. But yeah, definitely that sort of vibe in it, and I definitely strayed away from it a little bit when I was in my teens. I went into the proper gothic rock. I'm a big fan of Marilyn Manson. Very, very heavy metal, Slipknot, Marilyn Manson, Motorhead, and I know it's not really the same level, I'm just trying to read them all. I haven't listened to it in so long, man. It's sort of bringing it all back for me as well, isn't it?
Are you saying when you are in your teens, you're one of them kids that they count as emo kids?
Oh yeah, I was a definite emo kid, man. I used to have the black platforms, or I used to have jet black hair, and it was all black all the time, man. Not really different to now, innit? It just sort of my style's changed slightly. The colours just sort of stuck by.
Well, I heard that. At the end of the day, hey, you have to do you, innit?
It's all a case of trying to find your feet in the world, innit? And that might sound cliche, but yeah. And some of the stuff that was there when I was a teen still hang about. I still listen to some of the bands now, innit, that I listened to when I was a kid. think, damn, I probably shouldn't have been listening to these dudes as a child, but you know, different perspective.
Now, how do you make that transition from heavy rock, metal, we say, into a bit of a hip hop, urban, a bit of that? I'm not saying fully. I'm just saying element of it.
Do you know what? It all strays from, once again, from like the music I used to listen to as a teenager. I always wanted to be in a band. I was in a metal band for a bit. We weren't very good. We played here a couple of times actually when it was before Robbie's, when it was called West Coast. So that stage was very familiar to me, isn't it? But I used to listen to a band. They were called Enter Shikari, innit? Mm-hmm. And they were the first band that I really sort of got into that mixed like heavy music with electronic music. And I know that there's loads of bands that do it in it, but for me, they were the ones that caught my attention in it. And you know, to the point of where like I went out and bought like the same synth equipment that the dude that did all their electronics used in it. You know, I wasn't very good at it, but I tried. I'm better now, and it's that sort of that gave me like the stepping stone from just listening to music to going and being in a band to then trying to make like a different type of music to then going on to being like, actually maybe I could be an artist, you know, in himself. There's a period of time when I tried to produce in it, not very well, but it was like a creative release. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and to this day I still spend hours sat in my studio, sat behind my Mac, you know, making instrumentals. They'll probably never see the light of day, but I find it like therapeutic. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
To you know, just to sit and kind of start off with nothing and end up with something. You know, it's a good feeling for me.
When you say they're never going to see light of day, is it because you feel like they're not good enough?
They're on like a professional level. They're definitely not good enough. Like the idea's there, but I just haven't got the skill, and I wouldn't feel right putting it out knowing that I didn't quite know how to mix it or I didn't quite know how to master it. Sort of me as an artist is definitely vocally, and me as like a musician, because I was a musician before I was ever an artist. And when I was in like year 7, I learned drum. I can play drums. I haven't played drums in years. I'm self-taught on piano. So you know, I definitely not advertise, but I definitely promote myself as a musician. If you notice, I always promote myself as a musician and songwriter rather than a rapper or a singer. Mm-hmm. Because I think the minute you start advertising yourself as a rapper solely, everybody thinks you've got something to prove in it, and I'm not one of them people in it. Like, do your thing, you know, I'll do my thing. I'm not a rapper, I'm not a singer, I'm not in competition with anybody. You know, I'm not here to prove myself to anybody. You know, I'm just here to do me, and whatever happens, happens, innit?
If you're not proving to anybody, are you proving it to yourself then?
I've definitely got a lot to prove to myself, innit? I doubt myself constantly, but I don't always think that's a bad thing, because I'm it's back to that cycling. I feel like I'm always battling myself, trying to level up from what I've done last time, while still thinking what I did last time wasn't good enough. If that makes sense, it's always that sort of level of that cycle.
I think as an artist, few people that I know as an artist, they go through this cycle. Every new song is their best song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when they make the next one, they want it to be better than their last one. So it sounds like you're saying similar to things like if you do something now, or you're making something, you're more critical of yourself because you wanted to top whatever you did before.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of it as well is the music that I make isn't the same, or maybe it is the same, and I hear it or see it differently. Not the same as everybody else in it. You know, I'll be sat in a studio with a beat, and it'll be like a rap beat or whatever. It'll be really hard 808s bass, and then the next one will have like drums and guitar on it. And I think, and I almost try my best to, if you was to line up like 4 of my songs, you wouldn't be able to put them all into the same genre.
No.
And I think that's really important for me as an artist. maybe that sort of goes with the kind of makes it hard for myself at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you say that, because you're very heavy on autotune,
Yeah.
is that conscious decision that you made for yourself, or is it just like, you know, oh, this is a wave, I'm gonna jump on that wave and just make my sound better?
I have always loved auto-tuning, and a lot of people don't like it. It's like a 60-40 split in it. I've always liked it. It kind of stems back to when I was a kid. A lot of the bands that I used to listen to had this really heavy influence of like hard rock with these really clean, smooth auto-tune, like clean, like sung vocals over the top. And one of my favourite bands when I was a kid, actually still to this day, Owl City, in a completely different vibe of music in it. So that's more, I don't know if you've heard of them. It's more of like a synth pop wave. The dude that did Fireflies.
Mm-hmm.
That was what kind of booted me into wanting to make instrumentals in the first place. So actually making electronic music before Young Freedom even came about, I was making music under Kid Colour, and that was definitely trying to do like an electronic 8-bit mix of pop and synth and sort of. But that was when I was making all my own stuff, and it wasn't kind of at the standard that I wanted it to be.
Why Young Freedom? Or why Freedom?
The whole thing, it almost stems from. I'm a backtrack a bit. When I started making music myself independently, it was as Kid Colour, and the reason it was Kid Colour was because I was a kid when I was doing it, a kind of late teen, sort of 19, 20, not even teenager really anyway. And then at the same time, Young Freedom was still there, but I didn't release music as it because it was like a split ego in it. I always used to think of it as like Kid Colour would be the one to do all the poppy stuff, and then when the raps came out, it would be Young Freedom in it.
So
and then
alter ego kind of.
Yeah. Could never quite settle to one. It was like a flip between. And then when I finally decided to scratch Kid Colour, I was sort of left in that place of thinking, well, what do I release music under now? Well, you know, Young Freedom was already there in it. Young because I obviously started it. It was like an homage to when I made music as a kid. Freedom blatantly because I'm a strong believer in do what you want, be who you want to be, innit?
Oh, when you said that, like do what you want, be what you want to be, that means you have to prepare for the consequence.
Oh
if you do whatever you want and do. So you're a strong believer in that as well, because if you say something or you do something that is outrageous, people will come for you.
I'm not an overly outrageous person in it. I don't particularly like confrontation. So in the back of my mind, I always think about what could be the backlash on me. Sometimes I make decisions without thinking about it. I've definitely done it in the past. It's definitely got me into trouble. It's definitely made me panic. I've definitely had to sit back and think maybe I shouldn't do that again. But at the same time, I've always said as well that I think if you don't do those things, you don't have those experiences, and you're not able to learn from them. I think as an artist, that's something you have just got to deal with because, maybe that's something that I've got to deal with as well. I find it really hard when people don't vibe with what I do. I take it personally, and that's definitely something that I need to work on. But you've got to go out there as an artist and realise that not everybody, I can't sit here and think that I'm going to make music for the whole world and every single person in the world is going to enjoy it. But at the same time, if I don't go in there with the mindset of I'm going to make music for every person in the whole world, I'm going to see who enjoys it, and I'm just going to vibe with the ones that do enjoy it and big them up, then it's a better feeling, isn't it? You've just got to see the positives in it, I think.